All right, moving right along to story number 2, and keeping on the topic of slaves and slavery, that actually was the heart of a speech that Tim Kaine gave on the floor of the U.S. Senate this past week. Now, in case you have forgotten who Tim Kaine is, you're better off if you have. He is a senator from Virginia, which actually makes me remember just how badly Virginia actually has it when it comes to elected officials. I lived in Virginia for 2 years, in Southwest Virginia, when I was going to grad school. Loved the area, loved the climate, loved the geography with the mountains and the George Washington, Thomas Jefferson National Forest. Probably means that that's going to have to be renamed. I don't know, the Black Lives Matter forest or some such thing. The anti-fascist, anti-racist forest. There we go. I loved the history too. Goes without saying. I was an hour's drive from Monticello, and I was only about a 15-minute drive from Poplar Forest, which was Thomas Jefferson's summer home. Great, great place. So definitely Virginia, as it stands right now, my favorite state in the Union, probably followed by New Mexico. But they have Tim Kaine in the Senate. They have Governor Blackface Northam sitting in Richmond. I really would hope that Virginians would just, collectively rise up like they did and throw all of these people out on their ears and into the dumpster, which is where they belong. But anyway, my personal preferences aside, Tim Kaine on the floor of the Senate said that the United States didn't inherit slavery from anybody. We invented it. Take a listen.
The United States didn't inherit slavery from anybody. We created it. It got created by the Virginia General Assembly and the legislatures of other states. It got created by the court systems in colonial America and since that enforced fugitive slave laws. We created it.
Of course, because he said something this asinine, the common reaction among the right was, oh my gosh, how stupid can Tim Kaine be? C.J. Pearson, who was a high school conservative personality, he's going into college now, so he's no longer going to be a high school conservative personality. He will be a college conservative personality, although seeing the state of college these days, I don't know really why he's bothering to go to college anymore, because, I mean, with a handful of exceptions, there are really no good colleges anymore. But C.J. Pearson, he put out a tweet that said, "Didn't you graduate from Harvard? You better ask for your money back." Tiana Lowe over at the Washington Examiner, she had a piece detailing this, and one of the sentences in her piece said that it's worth unpacking the minutiae of the Virginia senators' rank stupidity. Now, let me just say right off the top that of course Tim Kaine was wrong when he said that the United States founded slavery, that the United States created slavery. Slavery is not the exception to the rule. Slavery is the rule. It's the idea that no one should be a slave that is the exception to the rule. In fact, slavery was the rule up until a point in time called the 18th century. Really, after something called the American Revolution, which, as Gordon Wood, preeminent historian of the American Revolution and the early Republic, has said, after the American Revolution, you start to see this switch in mentality where people are now like, you know what? This slavery thing, I know it's been around for, thousands upon thousands of years, but maybe we should take a look at this again. And that's when this abolitionist sentiment really took root. When you saw states like Massachusetts and New York and Connecticut and Pennsylvania completely outlaw slavery. And then a few years later, you have the British Empire getting rid of slavery. Okay? But before that time, slavery was the rule. There were no exceptions. Take a look at this. All you have to do is go to Google right here, okay? That search engine called Google, which is an evil empire, much like Disney, but it still has its uses for right now. All you have to do is Google ancient world slavery, and you get all of these results, okay? You get, for example, slavery in antiquity from Wikipedia. Well, okay, Wikipedia, that's not exactly a academic site, shall we say. So what else do we have? Ooh, Slavery in the Ancient World by Rutgers University. And ooh, look at what we have here. Slavery in the Ancient World on JSTOR. That means that you know that essay is an academic essay, because JSTOR only publishes academic work. And it goes on and on and on. Okay, those are just a few examples. So we already know that slavery was around in the ancient world. We know, for example, that the Muslim powers of the world in the Middle Ages, they took, millions and millions of people from Africa. They also enslaved Europeans. Now, I know that Europeans don't mean anything anymore, but the Muslim powers of the world, okay, the caliphates, the medieval caliphates, they enslaved millions of Africans. And they didn't abolish slavery until way after the West had done. Turkey, the Ottoman Empire, didn't abolish slavery officially until the 20s. Saudi Arabia, get this, Saudi Arabia didn't officially get rid of slavery until the 60s, and it still is around in Saudi Arabia, unofficially. Okay? America did not create slavery. America did not invent slavery. Slavery, again, has been the rule since civilization began. As it says here at the very top of our little Google search, slavery has a long history in the ancient world and was practiced in ancient Egypt and Greece as well as Rome. So there you have it. Okay? Now, my big beef, however, with this, and with the people like C.J. Pearson and Tiana Lowe over at the Washington Examiner, who were saying that, well, this is obviously stupid of Biden to say it, because of course there were, slaves in the ancient world. Of course, America didn't invent slavery. That doesn't, that misses the entire point of what's happening, okay? Because you can say a lot of things about Tim Kaine, but he's not an idiot, okay? He's not an idiot. And even if he was an idiot, as a senator, he has something called a staff. And his staff has these things, laptops. They also have computers. They also have iPads, iPhones, smartphones in general. And they all know about this marvelous little invention called Google and Bing and Yahoo, etc. Any one of them could have done what I just did, ancient world slavery, and pulled up that article on JSTOR, could have pulled up that article from Rutgers University. And they could have told him, stop, X-nay, sorry, Senator, slavery didn't start in 1776 or 1619. It actually started about 3000 BC, give or take. So unless Tim Kaine wants to say that Americans were so gung-ho on white supremacy and white imperialism that they traveled back in time and introduced slavery to ancient Egypt, there might be a flaw there with his case, okay? The point is, Tim Kaine knows that America didn't invent slavery. He knows that, okay? So you can't say that he's being stupid. What you can say is much worse, because of course the question becomes, if Tim Kaine knows that America didn't invent slavery, then why did he say it? Well, it's very, very simple. Tim Kaine is pandering to the mob. Tim Kaine, with this little speech on the Senate floor, he just nominated himself for most woke bloke of 2020. All of you people over there, Nancy Pelosi may try to be woke by removing the portraits of former speakers of the House who have connections to the Confederacy, but me, I said that America invented slavery. That 1619 mentality again, gang, it's everywhere now. It has become a part of critical race theory, FYI. But that is what Tim Kaine did. He was basically painting he was carrying a flag, a Black Lives Matter Antifa flag, saying that I'm the most woke person here in the Senate. Because while other people may talk about systematic racism and about how we have to end this, etc., I went full speed ahead, damn the torpedoes, and I just said what we all know, that America is racist and that it invented slavery. What he is doing is he's pandering, like I said, to the mob. He's pandering to the people who are tearing down our history, who are looting and burning and succeeding. Again, autonomous zones in Portland and Seattle, and in Chicago too. That is what he is doing. He is desperately trying to hold on to the little power that he has left by appeasing the mob, by kissing the ring of the mob, by getting down and kissing their feet. That is what Tim Kaine is doing. It's an act of self-preservation. Okay, I'll repeat the party line. I'll repeat what you want to hear, so hopefully I can win re-election, so I can keep being a senator. And in order to do this, this is where it gets real, gang. Tim Kaine threw overboard his country, his history, and all the people that he represents, all the people that he works for, okay? Because remember, he doesn't own the country. He doesn't own our country's history. That is our inheritance, all of ours, including the people in Virginia, for whom he works, because they elected him to the Senate. He threw all of those overboard, threw all of them under the bus, just in order to make a play so that he could protect his own base of power. And this actually leads us to a very sobering observation as to where we are. Because we are a republic. Remember, gang, the idea is that we elect our leaders who then lead us by being our servants. We elect public servants as our leaders. That's the thing, okay? And so our leaders are supposed to govern according to what is right, what is good, and what is true. So they are supposed to debate, they are supposed to ponder, they are supposed to reflect, and they are supposed to actually have principles and to remain true to those principles. Again, they are supposed to do everything for the common good. What is true, what is good, what is just, what is right, according to eternal principles. Okay? When you have leaders who don't do that, who sell out to mobs, okay, who sell out to whichever little group happens to be on the ascent, who happens to be having the power at the moment, you don't have self-government anymore. You don't have a republic. You don't even have a democracy. Because your leaders, you may elect these people into office, but they're not going to defend squat for you. They're not going to defend what you believe in. They're not going to defend your principles. They're not going to defend your interests. And they're certainly not going to defend the country, our history, our culture, or anything else that we have been handed down from the past. Okay? Because they are in there simply to preserve their own power, to keep getting reelected again and again and again and again and again, forever and ever, amen. That is their agenda. So they don't care who they have to throw overboard. They don't care who they have to throw under the bus, as long as they have that power. That is what Tim Kaine has done. That is why his words there on the floor of the Senate are so disgusting. Because he knowingly lied. He knowingly lied about our country, about our culture, about our people. He willingly lied about all of that, simply so that he could be on the quote-unquote right side, so that he has a shot at re-election. So he will be seen as an ally, so that he will be seen as one of the good guys, not one of these horrible, racist, homophobic, transphobic, bigoted, prejudiced people that are running amok everywhere. That's what he did, okay? If this was just a case of stupidity, I mean, we could forgive that, because, I mean, you can't really fault stupidity, because, again, a lack of ignorance, right? But it's not what happened. That's not what happened. And again, it shows the horrible danger that we are in actively right now. Because if our elected leaders don't have the spine, the steel, and the brass to actually govern like they're supposed to, but if instead they simply pander to whichever rising power is on the horizon, then, like I said, we don't have a republic. What we have is a mobocracy. Whoever controls the mob, whatever the mob wants is what the mob will get. Because nobody wants to be on the bad side of the mob, because no one wants to be guillotined. Right now, that guillotining is metaphorical, but who knows? Revolutions like this, they have a bad tendency to start beheading real people. As again, Mark Stein would say, once you run out of statues, you start chopping off heads. That is story number 2.